Hi, I'm back again today. Obviously, we are going to talk about some good stuff, some positive things here, and I'm coming today with another topic about finance and money. One of the reasons why I want to be focusing a lot on finance and money, even though I want to have some other subject, is because of the data analytics of the feedback the um, of the YouTube, and I see more the curve going more for the finance and money subject than anything else. Obviously, money is always near and dear to the heart of most people. So I'm going to kind of follow that trend a little bit. I'm going to post more about finance and money, but I'm very, very interested about other things because I truly believe before talking about finance and money, I think that there's other things that people need to be together with in terms of who they are and what they believe. That's why I talk about things like self-image and finance and what I'm talking about prosperity in general. What people should be thinking about when they think about success. Who deserve to be successful? Believe it or not, there are people that don't deserve that they can be successful. They don't deserve that they should become wealthy. They don't deserve, they think that they don't deserve to become rich. They literally believe that. And when they look at their lineage and nobody has ever been wealthy or rich, so they don't believe that for themselves. So my other videos is the reason why I don't just focus on talking about money. I want to work on people, so to speak, until we get to the point where they start to be comfortable talking about money and getting successful and deserving and getting out of debt. So today we're going to talk about a very interesting subject in the United States. And man, you hear that all the time everywhere. Owning a house versus renting, which is basically buying versus continue to rent. So today we're going to talk about some pros and cons. We're going to talk about pros and cons of owning, cons of renting. And there's a last paragraph about this that if it wasn't for the pandemic, I probably wouldn't have included that. But because of the times, I'm adapting this because I've watched things happen with the pandemic and home ownership and some of the things that were stemming from the consequences of the pandemic and how it affected the housing market and even behavior of people that were owning versus people that were renting a house. So that's a very interesting topic that I'm keeping for the end because I think it's really interesting to hear some of the things and realities that happen. So, renting versus owning. Listen, when I got in this country, obviously, just fast forward everything, I rented for over 10 plus years. And if you ask me, was I able to, at some point, maybe before the 10 years or 10, 12, 11 years before I got into renting and into buying, was I able to afford a house before then? I can't tell you typically no or yes, but I can say probably, maybe I could have bought it earlier. I could have bought earlier. And before I bought, obviously I heard it. I heard it all. And see, I've always been in finance and money and thinking about money and stuff. So I already knew what were the advantages of buying and versus renting. And before I got that, I heard it all, right, from everybody. Friends, family, you should buy, you should throw money through the window renting. And it's true, right? But everybody's a different situation. I guess when you look at renting is you start from a perspective of right now I cannot afford to buy a house, and the reason why is mortgage, right? Maybe credit score. Credit score talked about that, how to improve that in some of you. You want to go watch that and see what you can do to improve your score. And then yeah, those are the main detractors of people not feeling like they're not ready to buy a house or it's mostly income, affordability, and then being able to qualify right for the payments and things like that. Otherwise, what other reason would keep people from buying a house or trying to apply for a house? And so therefore, let's start with renting. And then we talk about the pros. The pros of renting, obviously, you don't own the house. You're renting, you're paying a rent every month to your landlord or whoever is you're renting from. And with that comes the advantages of, not being responsible of some of the maintenance and things like that. You can get up and leave with the notice. And you don't have to worry about having to pay anything or a mortgage off or and things like that. So, repairs of the house are done by the landlord, and everything about the house, you're not really truly responsible of it. And then usually the renting is depending on the area is cheaper than paying a mortgage. But again, we all know in the areas that rent is like in the thousands of dollars per apartment or 2 bedroom, and so things like that is kind of relative, so to speak. After a few years that you finally know and you do some research and stuff like that, so it wasn't kind of stupid. Say, oh, rent is always low and then paying mortgage is always high. It's not true. There's rents that are more expensive than mortgages and things like that. So when you get educated, then you finally realize, wow, yeah. And so yeah, so those are the advantages of renting. So basically, if you put it renting and owning, the advantages of renting is going to be the cons of owning, and then the cons of renting are going to be the advantage of owning. So basically, it's kind of like it's going to flip flop. So it's really don't need to. So whatever I say for renting is the opposite of owning. And so the cons of renting, obviously, is that you're not building any equity. You're renting somebody else's house. You're paying for their mortgage, whatever. When you pay them, you go pay the rent. They're taking it, you go pay for the mortgage, whatever that the house that they own. And so you don't have that. When you leave, you just leave with your stuff. You're not making any money on the market selling the house because you don't own it, right? You basically those are the big disadvantages. You don't have any equity, you're not building anything. Um, and then the disadvantage also renting is the moving, right? Moving here, moving there, packing all the time, packing, going over here, unpacking, packing again, unpacking. This is a big disadvantage as well. It's really inconvenient to do that every other year, every 3 to 4, 5 years. And again, we've had our share of renting, and I know what I'm talking about. um Calling people, looking for help, whatever, for moving, so that's the headache. All right, so those are the main disadvantages of renting, but I think the biggest one is on the financial and the money, the benefit and the profit that you don't have, right? Because you don't own it. So now let's talk about owning a house. So owning, obviously, everybody is the American dream, right? We gotta own a house, and finally, we gotta prove, and we gotta prove for that mortgage. You gotta be moving in. It's exciting. So yeah, definitely. Buying is great, right? You're not gonna have to move all the time. Now you finally can stay there for 30 years, or 15, or 20, depending on your terms. Again, quick tip here: if you can do 15, do it. If you can do 20, do it. But most of the time, everybody here 30, right? It's the biggest numbers here is 30 years mortgage. And so yeah, but you don't have to move all the time. Hey, finally, this is the house where I'm gonna die. And that's never how I see things. But so yeah, that's great. And then the asset, right? You finally buying a house, even if you're not paying cash for it. Some people pay cash. If you pay cash, the house is immediately for you, obviously, right? The value is yours, the asset is yours, and it start appreciating with time. But most of the time, people don't pay the house cash. They put the down payment and the balance you pay over the years on a term and on an interest rate based on your credit score again. So yeah, that's the advantage of that. And so yeah, owning is definitely more advantageous because you buy an asset. The problem is people figuring out when it's time, what is the right time, and things like that. And then also maintenance is now on you. And then people are more motivated to work on homes, like remodeling things, because you're gonna be there for a long time. And as you remodel, it increases the value of the house on top of what the market value adds on top of on the house value as well over the years. So you benefit from all of that. And then now people are more motivated to do work around the house, model the kitchen, put hardwood floor if it was carpet, and all that kind of stuff. And so that's the great advantage. And finding, with family, you don't have to move your family all the time, moving them here, moving them there for rent, renting over here, moving your family and then renting over there. But one thing I want to say about that is, hey, when kids are young, they don't care. Kids just moving, running around. Hey, we're moving. Yeah, they're in the car. Kids don't care. Okay, so don't they just get don't put the kids and stuff and kind of, it doesn't matter. What you have to focus on is the asset that you're building for them, the future, to help them and stuff like that. And so that's the main reason. It's not, well, I don't want to move my kids. The kids don't care. They just follow you, okay, until they're independent. Um, and so don't feel bad in either situation. If you're renting, don't feel bad because you're renting, and then buying is better. When the time comes, you'll be able to do that. And I want to talk about the timing and things like that quickly, because here's the thing that scare people a lot and want to look, and I think that was my case for the longest time. I just kept on thinking about my income or my revenue, my salary or our combined salary. We never really looked into it, right? And if you do the research, you can find out that there are communities where you actually paying your rent is higher than if you're getting a mortgage and buy a house. And so if you can find out that what you're paying for rent now, you will be shocked to know that if you can go qualify for a mortgage is actually the same thing that you're paying for rent right now, or even less. And so that's the only thing I want to throw in there in terms of timing. If you're not sure, if you have a good credit, now I would highly recommend that you check your credit. If it's not at a point where it's going to give you a low interest rate, make sure you work on your credit first, increase your interest rate, save some money for down payment. Don't wait too much for that. There's all kinds of arrangement and packaged mortgage these days. I highly recommend that you put something down. We've seen in the past mortgages with nothing down. I don't know, but it happens for the most part, and so you have to have something to put down. I think that's what the biggest thing also for some people. It's like, I have nothing to put down for mortgage, but if you kind of get disciplined a little bit, like I was talking about, saving and getting your money right, you can easily get quickly something to be able to put down. But I highly recommend that you check into, if you have the money, don't just wait because you're thinking mortgage is going to be higher, but you're paying the rent already higher right now than if you had applied for mortgage. Your mortgage will probably be even lower than what you're paying for rent. So it makes just sense to go get into an asset, temporary asset, because the asset is not yours yet until you own it completely or pay it off. So while you still paying your house, it's a liability. It's kind of a asset slash liability because you still have a mortgage, but if you sell the house, you can get a little bit of money out of it if the house appreciated in value. So it's kind of like a double thing. It's sort of an asset, but it's still kind of a liability because you still have to pay every month, cash out of your pocket, continue to pay that mortgage. And then finally, that's probably the plug I want to put there. So for think about buying, and then I'm not going to talk about what to buy, affordability, what should you afford, what kind of house based on your income. Like this is another debate, right? Like we've seen all kinds of stuff happen. People jumping into large homes. They just got qualified because they have high income, but they didn't really assess their true financial situation, and they end up being in trouble with a mortgage down the road. It's just gonna be, want to avoid that. Don't get too close to what you can afford. Get a little bit. If they tell you can afford a house $700,000, don't go get a house of $700,000. Get a house of $500,000. If they tell you can afford $1 million, go get a house that's $600,000 or $700,000. So get a house under what you can afford by several hundred, a few $100,000, or the max you can afford to take a few $700,000 under that. That's my. But you know what? People are ready. Hey, they can give me $700,000. They gotta buy that mansion. Can I even afford $750,000? And then they push to get that huge thing. And okay, here's your mortgage. Let's see if you're gonna be able. Yeah. If we push some things around, we can pay that. Well, what's the beginning of trouble right there? So, and then finally, let's talk about buying versus renting, the CV-19 perspective. That's what I call it, COVID-19 perspective of buying and renting. Listen, this is another, like, I don't want to get into this, but let's just put it this way. During the pandemic, people that owned homes were way better off than people that rented. Period. That's one of the biggest advantages. I'm not going to get into the details. People that own homes went through COVID. Listen, I was in it during COVID-19. I saw several projects around there, but like people were putting solar panels, buying new cars, doing remodeling in their homes. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? So when I did the research, I'm not gonna get into the details, but I realized that there was a lot of things, let's just say things, that were at the advantage of people owning homes because they had a mortgage. The terms are more understandable. You have negotiation room with your mortgage companies because they know that you're on a long-term contract with them, so they want you to stay in the house. And so that's the extent to what I can say. But the reason I say that is because we heard that every 15 to 20 years there's another pandemic. So if you're not planning to get in the house, you still planning on renting for a long time, I highly recommend, if you can, and provided all the factors that I'm teaching on my channel about preparing for finance, getting your credit score right, getting money to decide, save money, buy what you can afford, buy under what you can afford, all that kind of stuff. Get in the house while you can, because another pandemic is going to be around. And finally, people that rented during the pandemic, we all heard the moratorium for renting. They had to be waiting for laws um, to be passed to be able to get breaks for rent. And finally, when the moratorium was expiring, it was a lot of stress for people that were renting homes, and a lot of people were able to force to get out, evicted because of non-payment. So the bottom line is that's what the perspective of COVID-19 I want to talk about. So I think yeah, hopefully it was informational. Hey, go ahead and hit the like, subscribe to the channel, share videos if you think somebody else can benefit from this, and then drop a comment if you need to. We all learn. I can learn from questions. I can answer questions in any of the videos. And so again, I appreciate talking to you guys, and hopefully that was beneficial and informative. And I'll talk to you guys soon.